I wanted to talk about what makes characters feel realistic. And I feel like it tends to come down to 4 different things. You want your character to feel relatable, a bit quirky and different, have clear motives, and be imperfect. Now, as writers, what is the best and easiest way to flesh out our characters? That is creating a character profile. And we're going to be talking about how to create a character profile in today's video, because characters can make or break a book. And to create our characters today, we're going to be talking about the character profile that is in my novel outline planner. Hello everyone, my name is Mandi Lynn. I'm an author, book cover designer, and the creator of the Book Launch Planner series, and I make weekly videos on the business of being an author. So if that sounds good to you, make sure to subscribe and hit that bell notification icon so you never miss a new upload. So before we start into creating our character profile, let's talk first about the 4 elements of what makes up a realistic character. So number 1, like I mentioned, having a character that is relatable. When your reader reads your book, you want them to connect with mostly your main character, but with all the characters in some way, shape, or form. You want the reader to feel like the main character. Now, the issue with that is that sometimes authors make their main character a little too generic because they do want their main character to be relatable. But if your character is relatable to everyone, that means that your character can sometimes fall a little flat. So you want to put in little nuggets and tidbits that are very specific and relatable to specific people. That means that it's not going to jive with everyone, and that's okay. Your book isn't meant to be loved by everyone. Your book is meant to be loved by very specific people. And those people are your ideal readers. And our next point is creating a character that is quirky. We've all heard about making quirky characters, giving them little traits that just makes them a little odd or different. And that's really what it's all about. What makes them different from your other characters? What are their hobbies? What really makes them tick? Like, what parts of their personality really define them as a character? A lot of the time you can do this by giving them a really unique voice. You can have a character that's a little more quiet and subdued and another character that's a lot more boisterous, and this can really come through in your writing style as well. You don't want your characters to all feel the same. You want them to have very clear and different personalities. So, for example, in the books that I've written, we have Marley in Meet Me at the Summit, who is a very serious person, and then we have her best friend, Lori, who is much more bubbly, a little more loud, and pushy. Now, let's talk about motives. You want your characters to have very clear motives. Basically, you want your character to be so fleshed out and their personality so clear that you're letting them write the book. Like, you give them a personality and then you put them into situations and you let them react to the situations. You don't have a clear specific plot where you're trying to squeeze your character and force them to do and react a certain way. Instead, you're letting the character do the reacting and let them lead the plot and let the plot do whatever happens based off of this character's reaction. I've seen it a couple times where you can tell the author had a very clear vision for their plot, and then they created their character, and they had to kind of force their character to react in a way that is out of character just to make the plot work. And that's not what you want to do. You want your character to always have clear motives and clear reactions and reacting certain ways based off of their personality. Now, if you're familiar with the Save the Cat method, then you know that each character should have clear wants and needs. And using those wants and needs, it creates a very clear backbone for their personality and backbone for their motive. Now, if you aren't familiar with the Save the Cat method of outlining, I highly recommend checking out the video where I go through all the story beats of the Save the Cat method of outlining. And the last point of a realistic character is having them be imperfect. Have you ever read a book or watched a movie and just felt like the main character was too perfect, and no matter what was thrown at them, they could defeat it? And it's just frustrating. And this is especially frustrating in fantasy novels where the main character either already has a superpower or discovers they have some sort of power, and this power is all-encompassing and can't be defeated. And it's just As a reader, it doesn't come across very well because there's nothing at stake, because you're sitting back like, oh, the main character can defeat it. It's fine. So that's not what you want to do. You want to have a character that is imperfect and has flaws and messes up and sometimes loses. Having those losses is what puts things at stake in a story and makes it hard to put a book down. So those are the 4 elements of what I feel make a character realistic. If there's other elements that you feel like I missed, be sure to share them down below. Otherwise, let's go ahead and move on to creating our character profile. So character profiles are just templates that you can fill out to really flesh out your character. I feel like when most people think of it, they think of like there's a little square where you can draw out your character, or you can print out photos from the internet of what you feel like your character looks like. You can also fill out verbally what they look like. You can write down their hair color, eye color, height, that sort of thing. And while that is important, I feel like what your character looks like is the least important of everything when it comes to character profiles. Like I said, we're going to be referencing the character profile that I created for my novel outline planner. This planner has 10 different character profiles, so you can fill out one for your main character, your side characters, and any more minor characters if you have them. But the first section is, of course, the basic traits. That is the name, gender, sexuality, age, and then job or school, depending on which one they're in. Those are all very basic things. And then, of course, we do have the section on physical traits. So we have hair, eyes, face, height, body type, and fashion. And when I say fashion, you can write things down like whether they're laid back, they'd like to dress more business casual, or maybe they're just in PJs all day. I don't know, but that's what that's for. But the real meat of your character profile is in the personality section of the character profile. So in that section, you'll see things like, what do they want? What do they need? Again, that goes back to the Save the Cat Writes a Novel method of outlining, defining your character's wants and needs, because that's what's going to drive the story. You have what are their flaws, because again, we want to make them imperfect. What will they learn by the end of the book? What they learn by the end of the book is often the theme stated. If you're familiar with the Save the Cat method, the theme stated beat is what they are going to learn by the end of the book. Do they have any secrets? Do they have any quirks? And the Enneagram type, which is just a personality test. And that's just kind of there if you're someone who's really into Enneagrams. You can also put down what their temperament is, what their perception of the world is, whether they're a clean, messy, or organized person, if they have any hobbies, and last but not least, things they disliked / aren't good at, because again, we want to drive home those flaws and the fact that our characters are defeatable. Now, I will admit, after writing multiple novels, I feel like I start to get a little uncreative when it comes to creating characters. I recently purchased the Writers Helping Writers Thesaurus series, and this is a bunch of different thesauruses, but the ones I bought in particular are all about characters. So it's basically just a book that is a ton of references to different careers and different personalities that your characters could have. So if you're feeling really stuck and don't know like what type of careers or personalities you should be giving your characters, I really enjoy these thesauruses because you can basically just like skim through the pages, stop on a page, read up about whatever particular occupation or personality traits it is, and it gives you a lot of ideas for writing. I love these books. I will leave my favorites linked down below. I highly recommend checking them out. But it's great if you're feeling a little uncreative when it comes to fleshing out your characters. Now, that is the personality section. I also have a section in the profile that is just family and relationships. And it's just blank lines because I want you to just write down who they're related to, who they've dated, who their exes are, that sort of deal. And it's meant to be a very brief little summary of what their family and relationships are. If it gets really complicated, I highly recommend creating a character map. I just did a YouTube video on character mapping, so I will leave that video linked down below. But that is basically when relationships between characters get very messy and complicated, and you might need to create a visual representation of what the relationships are. And the last section of the character profile here is just a little blank page to write down backstory. This is anything that happens before the book begins. So whether there was like some trauma that the character is walking into the main story with, that you need to know happened but doesn't happen directly on the page. That's what the backstory section of the character profile is for. So if you enjoy this character profile that I mentioned today, make sure to check it out. You can purchase my novel outline planner. It's available on Amazon as a hardcover or paperback. Again, there's 10 profiles that you can fill out, as well as multiple other pages like for locations, for outlining your novel, for just doing general brainstorming. It's a fun planner to use if you need a little help fleshing out your book and a place to organize everything. But going back to character profiles, if there's other things you like to see in character profiles, let me know by commenting down below. What are the type of things that you like as a writer to keep in mind when you're creating your character profiles? If you want more videos on writing, make sure to check out my playlist here on YouTube. Or if you're looking for a guided course on writing and to kind of be in a community of writers writing their book at the same time as you, I highly recommend checking out Reedsy's course, How to Write a Novel. I am an affiliate for that course. I personally was able to take the course, and it's really just an in-depth, almost college-like course on how to write a book. There's also a forum where you can talk to other writers, and I just overall highly recommend checking out the course. Otherwise, that is going to be it for today. Thank you all for watching. Be sure to subscribe, give the video a thumbs up, comment down below, and I'll see you all next week.